This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by chasingartwork.com with new artwork and books updated regularly. Go to chasingartwork.com to see more.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm here with my eternally suffering co-host, Justin Curry, and our excellent and newly haircutted producer, Dan
Looking fresh, yeah.
Looking so fresh.
I have one of the things I do with my students is I encourage them to look for errors in the world, in the real world, mistakes called, well, I stole the name from another instructor or colleague, spot the screw up. So when you're in the real world, look for mistakes, and it happens all the time.
What does this have to do with your haircut? It looks great.
Because I'm getting to it. So they do have to do this for bonus marks, and the goal is to teach them to pay attention to the world around them to see how things can go wrong. And so I have been, and I've already trained my eye to look for this stuff. I see it everywhere, so I'm finding this stuff left, right, and center. And I'm trying to encourage the students to do it, so I'm doing it too. And I found I was at my haircut place getting my haircut. I don't want to name them because I'll shame them because they had a very bad typo in a sign.
Oh no!
On the front. So as I was getting my haircut, they had a sign out, and the sign was about how you keep masks and all that other stuff. It was about the COVID situation,
right?
And I'm like, it was the very first word. It's a considering, and it was just this blatant typo in the very first word.
Considering.
I'm like, guys, whatever. Anyway.
Is that, perhaps we could make it a word now?
Considering?
Yeah, like when your co-host is considering something and you can see their face. Like Justin has a considering face right now.
That's right.
Right? No? I don't know. I will say spot the screw up. This is a bit shaming, but I think they're doing fine. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, shout out to a new episode where a character who has only one hand for half of the episode appears in the rest of the episode with the other hand wearing a green glove.
Okay.
All right?
I get it.
The last half of the episode, they didn't bother to do the special effects.
Oh.
The character had two hands now, and one of them was in a green glove because it's supposed to be digitally removed. So spot the screw up. Even well-produced, excellent, well-paid people in positions of power and authority make mistakes.
There was a shot in The Mandalorian last season. One of the
where you could see the green or the blue or something?
No, it was just caught a crew member or something a split second, and they cut it. So once somebody pointed it out, they went back and took it out. But it definitely was in there. And we've seen like water bottles in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Starbucks.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Right?
That happens all the time. There's just so many details. It's difficult to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember the episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, which I thought was spotting a screw-up, where I'm sorry I've forgotten the actress's name, but the character's name is Tasha Yar. The turbo lift doors are closing, and she waves as if to a crew member off camera, but I didn't understand that shows were released in episodes different than how they were made when I was young, and that was her last shot in the show ever.
Oh.
The episode later, she ends up dying, spoiler alert, and so this was her farewell to the viewers, waving literally.
Oh.
And so it was never corrected because they left it in.
Then they brought her back as a Romulan, which was really weird.
Yeah,
That was such a
Romulan
cool-
spy.
yeah, the
Because I
time
think she
twist.
regretted leaving. Yes.
There was a contract dispute there, and she regrets not staying on.
I think
the
so.
show.
The time twist episodes
Yeah.
where she comes back are great.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about. I mean, actually, I do. I do want to talk
more
about
TNG.
Star Trek. Maybe we should start a new podcast. But instead, what I want to talk about is a different time twist. A different time twist.
How are you going to attach this?
I'm going to attach it like this. Normally, in the normal intact timeline, Calgary Comic-Con will come along. Justin and I will spend days dismantling the studio and packing as much of it into the back of a vehicle as we can, and then driving across the country. But
13-hour drive.
We even have a podcast episode in which you guys recorded yourselves. while
that's
doing
right.
that.
Yes.
Podcast number. And so, yeah, no, we have to do some research. This year, there was an alternate timeline. Tell us about it, Justin.
Yeah. So recently in Manitoba, our event numbers were quite low. And like the event numbers, I mean, our cases were under 100 kind of things. Things were starting to open up. So one of the local events that I ended up going to was the Winnipeg Night Market at Assiniboine Downs. And I signed up for this just because it was, you had to be double vaxxed to go. It was mask mandatory. It was a tiny, half of it was outdoors, some of it was indoors. And I was just kind of dying to not only do a show, but just to make sure I still knew how to do a show. And so I signed up for that, and it was like an exciting blip on my horizon. I actually have an event where I can go and sell things in person.
And
like
the deadline.
I have a deadline. I have a new graphic novel I've never sold in person. I've got all this new artwork I need to print and put in a portfolio. And around the same time, the Calgary convention, which usually happens in April, was advertising that they wanted to do a limited edition event in September.
And for some context, those of you who are international, in Canada, our province is, Manitoba is where we live, but Alberta is where this show happens. And their government said, everything's great, everything's open, we're going to have the best summer ever.
And this was at that point. Everything was going pretty
so
well.
Don't blame Justin. He believed what the people told him.
So, yeah, they were going to do limited passes, so only 25,000 people could attend the event, and this is usually like 100,000 plus person event. Limited artist alley, like they had all these things kind of put in
Plans
place.
for the tables to be more spaced. I saw a number of those correspondences.
This is at the same time that the MegaCon in Orlando is happening. Well, Florida's numbers are the highest in the world.
Yeah.
They're having a normal convention, right? So I'm starting to get like a little bit of FOMO. It's like, I'm not planning on doing this Calgary show, but like, And
Right.
so I reach out to my good friend Drake, also known as Quirkylicious, who has been on the show, episode... No,
Look it up.
yeah, this one is just a joke. I don't think you should be doing. So I'm on the phone with Drake, and I'm like, "Are you doing this Calgary show?" And he's like, "No, I wasn't planning on doing it. Like, even though he's local, I assumed he'd be doing it." I'm like, "Okay, good," because like I'd have a lot of fear of missing out if all my friends were at the show and I wasn't, and I was kind of thinking about it, but I don't think it's the right thing to do, so okay, I'm glad you're not doing it either. And then I talked to another friend of ours, Waleed, who was on his way to Orlando to do the MegaCon.
Yeah. And
then he was also really excited about the Calgary show, and we started talking about what the vibe is going to be at shows. And it was his thoughts and kind of mine as well that the people who are going, it's not going to be as well attended as before, but the people who are going are the people that have been pent up, really excited about conventions, and they're also,
fandom is in their blood.
And the people who are really fandomy and nerdy usually have those jobs where they stay inside indoors already. Like, they're the safest as far as...
Oh, interesting thought.
Right? Like, they're not the ones going out to bars. They're the ones who are taking things seriously and staying indoors and working from home.
What a sweeping generalization. If you are a pretty cool nerd who also attends these bars.
I'm going to a bar in a couple of nights.
Just the conversation. Whatever.
For the remainder of this podcast, Justin will be looking down his nose at the rest of it.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
Send your hate mail to Nico Rudolph.
Oh no! Don't do it.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
So anyways, he just kind of got me I'm leaning towards, Calgary is a drive. I wouldn't be in an airport. It's close enough. It's far enough away. Like, maybe the landscape will be even better. Like, infection number wise, ugh.
Keep in mind, too, Alberta is advertising heavily at this time that they're open, that people can come and do things, that everything's safe.
But they did that because their numbers were so low,
Yes,
right?
right.
Like, it was a good time.
Yeah.
So I phoned Drake back. Drake then messages me out of the blue after like a week or two of really being in turmoil about this.
Wait, Justin's going and I'm not going?
And then he messaged me like, "Hey, you're coming, right? Because you asked me about that Calgary show, so I signed up." And so now Drake is going, and he's basically you're staying with me, right? We finally get to hang out after 2 years of not seeing each other.
We're both double vaxxed.
I'm really excited for you to come out. And then, which is usually a bit of a red flag, the Fan Expo was calling people to try to fill the artist alley.
Oh yeah, I got contacted a few times.
Yeah,
Are you
they
coming?
called.
Can you come? Would you like a table?
And so the first time they called, I said, no, I don't feel comfortable with it. And then the second time they called, I'm like, yeah, I kind of want a table. Send me the forms. And so again, this was when the numbers were low, but I was kind of excited about it. So I signed up for the Calgary show, and I was kind of low key about it, like in part because I wasn't sure if I should be doing this, and the other part because I thought there was a very good chance it was going to be canceled.
Yeah, right.
Because a lot of events.
And I so wanted to
have
go,
been.
but I have a person in the household that can't be vaccinated yet. They're just too young, and so I just, out of an abundance of caution, just said no.
I also purposely didn't tell you because I thought you might be disappointed in me for going.
No, well, it's funny because when we were talking about it, you had hinted at it, and I said to Tara, it's funny you say that, because it was either a text exchange or maybe it was one of our Zoom calls or whatever, where I was like, I'm pretty sure Justin's going to the Calgary show. And Tara's like, oh yeah, did he tell you that in the call or whatever? And I was like, no, I just feel like he's not telling me because he thinks I'll be disappointed. Amazing.
But it was very last minute. Like, I think I signed up, it was very close to the event. So at that point, I was probably humming and hawing, but I hadn't signed up. And that became apparent when I got to the show. A lot of the Artist Alley tables weren't filled. So on the second day when I walked around, it was probably a fifth the size of what the normal Artist Alley was. And about 10% of it was empty, like blank tables. And it was probably even worse because when you see a blank table beside you and nobody shows up all day, you take that over.
Yeah, the
right?
unspoken rule is that unless an organizer says, no, this is taken, people tend to spread out.
And they don't ask, they just take it?
They just take it.
I would want somebody to ask me.
You'd want someone to ask you, but in that environment, people tend not to. Yeah, yeah.
So how long do they give before you start expanding? If they're not there by noon.
Usually by the start of the second day,
You have to give them a full. That's fair then. If they're not going to be there the first day.
And kind of like the benefit to both people. In an artist alley, when you see a bunch of empty tables, you might not go down that aisle, right? It's like, oh, there's only 4 artists instead of 10.
Yeah.
So it looks bad for the show when there's a bunch of artists,
So a lot
empty
of shows
tables.
let it slide. Some shows, I think, was it Chicago, where I took over a table next to me, and they came back and they said, that person didn't show up. Well, you can take it over. We'll give it to you for half.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, like
Same thing.
thank you.
We want to fill it.
They
right?
want a double dip is what they want, right?
Yeah.
We want to
And
get paid twice
That's
for
what I
this.
said. I was like, well, someone already paid for it, right? And they're not here. So I guess, whatever. So.
So it was, I did the drive by myself, and it's a 13-hour drive. And I did listen to Stephen King, The Outsider, while I drove, which was something that Greg and I usually do.
Yeah. Stephen King. But we usually only get about half of the novel because I sleep
Right.
while you're driving, and then I'll wake up, and Justin will catch me up on what I missed in the book. And then he'll go to sleep, and I'll listen. And then when he wakes up, I catch him up. And we listen to a book half at a time.
Yeah, because I didn't have to be usually I'll be considerate about what I'm listening to, right? Like if you're not around, I'm not going to listen ahead on the book or whatever. Yeah. But I listened to it while I was setting up and taking down and going for walks or whatever. So I got through the entire book by the time I arrived back in Winnipeg on the drive back. But okay, so the show was, about a fifth of what the normal show usually is. And one of the reasons I was really excited about going was I wanted to see all these artist friends that I hadn't seen in a while, and I was super excited about all the new stuff that they should have done.
Iron sharpens iron.
Right, because nothing gets me more fired up than seeing somebody who's improved in leaps and bounds and done new stuff and done exciting things. And I was a little let down by the lack of new stuff across the board in Artist Alley. Everybody looked like they pretty much just dusted off pre-COVID suitcases and showed up with no discernible difference in their booth from pre-lockdown to now.
And you made an observation too, which I think is important to bring up, that many people were in a position where when shows canceled, they had to scramble for other jobs.
Yes.
Right? So that,
So
he let you off the hook when you weren't on the podcast.
There were a couple people that I know for a fact that wasn't they did have every opportunity to to buckle down and get new stuff done and didn't, and I was especially disappointed in them. But other than
You want to name some names?
oh, of course.
No.
But I think Quirkalicious and I cleaned up at that show because we were one of the few that have been working at, really been able to, lucky enough to work at our booths throughout this break and have so much new content. And everybody that came were like the die-hard regulars that are there every year.
Right. So if they're if they're already one of your 80% people, then they have your work already.
I think 99% of my purchases
Were regular.
were people who had bought in the past. I don't think I saw a single new person that had never seen me before. It was everybody who'd seen me in the past. Like we said, it was the diehards coming, and they, were ready to spend. And the other thing that I always find kind of great as an artist, but is terrible for attendees, is a ton of the guests canceled last minute.
Yeah. No,
But
they didn't, though.
they didn't.
I think we know what really is going on. So I was mentioning when you came back with this story, Gates McFadden, this is our Star Trek mentioning episode, I suppose. Gates McFadden, who played Beverly Crusher on Next Generation, was tweeting that, hey, shows that are advertising as if I am present, I canceled months ago, so stop telling people 2 days before I show up.
Yeah.
That happens way too much.
Yeah.
I've been working at a convention, and well, I'll just say it. It was at C4. Gary Busey was supposed to be there, and his son, and they didn't show. I don't know if that was ever a thing.
Right.
But I had people coming into the theater looking for Gary Busey, and I'm like, oh, he canceled. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And they were very upset because they didn't know, because that
And-
con didn't tell people.
And many guests who have agents, right, who are on top of that stuff, cancel well in advance.
Yep.
I almost feel like, is it part of when you sign up to the convention in the contract? It's like we can control the announcement of your cancellation.
I don't know.
So even though you canceled months before, we are not going to announce it until 3 days before the show because we don't want to lose those tickets.
Yeah, and then they also have this thing, many shows, where if it's a day or two before and you're like, oh, well, that's the reason I was going, I don't want to go. If it's within 48 or 72 hours, you can't refund your ticket now.
It's longer than that because this show was doing a lot of that where they were even more sneaky about it. They would do some kind of announcement about the gaming area is going to be over here and doing this. And then the last line of the post that you had to click read more to see, oh, by the way, Doctor Who's canceled. He's not going to be there anymore. So it was like a little subheading,
Right.
like underneath like what they were actually
they could
posting.
say that they said it, but I mean, there's the other side. Like, of course, if you're trying to run the business and you know it's gonna, and you know how vitriolic social media is, right? You have to play. Oh man, that is not a situation I'd want to be in as a showrunner.
They also
let
did
alone.
it one at a time. Like I'm sure, like why didn't they announce
Everyone.
these 5 guests have canceled? Instead, it was like every 2 days they'd announce a cancellation, like clockwork, right? Like they pre-scheduled
Then
them.
it looks like everybody's doesn't want to do your
Jump
show.
ship.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this place sucks.
You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
If you are interested in conventions or doing shows or whatever, and you don't follow Kevin Boyd on BOYD on Facebook, he is one of the guest organizers. He is 100% transparent. If you check his posts, they are organized, they are meticulous, they are transparent. There is no subterfuge whatsoever. And so I find that so refreshing, right? Like,
I don't think there's I mean, I guess the instinct is we want to make people. People aren't going to come if the guest isn't going to be here. But I don't know that that's true. When I've talked to people about why they come to conventions, a lot of them will say, "Sure, I'm going to come for this guest," but there's also other reasons.
Right, of course.
Artists and artist rally.
Yeah.
I want to see my friends get together, and that kind of stuff is. And of course, people haven't had a chance to do that in a long time, so there's this kind of fear of missing out of going to these things. But I think that those tactics of like not telling people the guest is canceled, it's not effective now in this day and age because people. I think the reason people aren't going and how many. What was the attendance? Do you know?
I don't know if it was 25,000 across. I think 25,000 across the 4 days.
right. So they're counting the same ticket more than
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that.
It's fine. I don't mind that, but I mean, I'm certainly not. It's probably not what it can be and what it has been in
Right.
the past because we're not ready yet. A lot of
Yeah.
people aren't ready yet.
I wasn't ready, and I
I'm
love
not
shows.
either. That's why we're not doing FanQuest. Like the con here, Winnipeg Comic Con. That's apparently still happening. I have not heard anything to the contrary. They did announce.
I haven't heard anything to the contrary, but I will say I'm disappointed that I've asked them direct questions about their COVID policies and have gotten no
Yeah, well,
anything.
they're not. They're not. They haven't worked it out yet. I don't think.
No,
The COVID
but that's what I want them to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want-
Again, be upfront.
I need transparency
Yes.
so that if they're like, we can't decide until this date, then I can plan my attendance around that maybe. But if I'm being told, like you need to have a reliable amount of communication when you're asking for, in our cases, thousands of dollars for booth spaces,
Yeah.
right? And you're not giving me a straight answer about whether or not kids that are not vaccinated will be attending the show. That's an important piece of information. And if they don't know the answer, rather than say nothing, crickets, and just invoices being sent, if they can send me an invoice, they can send me an email, right?
Right. They ask for money,
Invoices
but
attached to that email.
Right? Then what you do is you simply say, we haven't made our decision, and here's why. It's a complicated moving target. I know that to be true, but if I were to find out later that they did know and didn't tell me, and the reason they didn't tell me is so that I'd pay, well, you've lost an exhibitor for life, essentially.
And I kind of feel like one of the reasons why they're being silent on it right now is because they don't want to. It's such a divisive topic right now. I don't want to get into it, but the vaccine versus no vaccine, they're not saying either way because they don't want to alienate anybody who might feel the other way about it, right?
Right. But then they're putting dollars before people's well-being.
Exactly. That's never a good policy. So I agree. I wish they would be more upfront about it. I think they can have an event. I think that's if they do it properly, it can be great. But we're waiting. Like FanQuest is not going to be around till at least the spring, and I'm waiting to make sure because when I want FanQuest to come back, I want it to be everybody back. I want it to be the way it was as much as we can. So I'm waiting, hoping the spring we'll be able to do it. But I don't know yet. I just don't know.
Because Edmonton canceled. I know they canceled right after the numbers went through the. They're in a medical emergency now.
Everybody was gearing up, and I kind of don't blame Alberta for doing that. I understand that now they kind of look like idiots for saying that.
Best summer ever. Everything's open.
Yeah. But
For those of you who don't know the
at time,
punchline.
I was like, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
The numbers are going down. We're going to come back, and I did feel it at the same time. So
Right.
I do sympathize with that, but yeah, it's still too soon. We're not ready yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what else happened at the con?
well, yeah, Alberta locked down 4 days after the show, so I made it back to Winnipeg in time for the province to go into full lockdown.
And I waited 2 weeks before I'd be in a room with Justin.
I brought up that the Winnipeg show was apparently happening and no other artists, and these are like the full-time Artist Alley people, nobody knew that it was still happening. So it is off everybody's radar. They're not doing any kind of advertising or push because, again, I don't think they know what's going on. So they're being tight-lipped about everything.
Now, if somebody who is at the Winnipeg show, organizing the new show, the show was bought by, I believe, the people who run Montreal Comic Con.
Montreal and Ottawa. I'm not sure what major comics.
If one of those people listens to this podcast or someone who works with them or volunteers, whatever, who knows more and feels like we're mischaracterizing their communication, feel free to reach out. We will state a retraction, right? I just feel like we're being left, as local creatives who normally support our local show in an enormous way. We're being left with no way to make a decision.
Yeah, and it's so tough, and I just don't have words. I sympathize with the organizers because I feel it. I feel their pain, but it's almost better to be clear and upfront. Which reminds me, I should email all the vendors for FanQuest, which I haven't done for a while. So.
Right.
That Bright Eyes is remarkable. He keeps trying to form words.
You know what they say, human see, human do.
Yeah.
Justin, what's the kind of email that you would want from a show? What is the correspondence you'd want if they were going to do, as Dan is saying, to wait until people can all come together and make it like it was? What's some added value that we could send to those people? Because I love FanQuest, right? Maybe we could do something to
Icon actually did a really good one.
That's true,
Where
yeah.
it was a short little like, hey, we miss you all. We won't be doing anything in 2021. We will update you when things are happening in 2022. Have a great year.
Yeah.
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 That's it. It wasn't like a big long
Yeah, the first
thing.
sentence was like, I know how hard the year has been for many of you or something. Like, it was just
Right.
something as simple as like, we're humans too.
Also, it was like, don't worry about us until later. It was like just kind of weight off my mind. Like, I don't have to worry about like, do I need to be getting tables? Is anything happening? Is like when shows send updates that's like a huge amount. Like I'm signed up on like 30 different Comic-Cons, like newsletters and stuff like that, right? So if it's a ton of information, I usually kind of gloss over it. But if it's
Too
just
long, didn't read.
right, yeah. And if you're not doing anything this year, just tell me. Check back next year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, just a little blip. Yeah.
The
Yeah, I think
Phoenix
so.
show sent a thing saying their 2022 show was canceled, and that's all it said. You know, we've canceled it out of an abundance of caution.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let you know when it's open. Your table has been rolled over. Don't worry. No further action necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So those kinds of correspondence.
That has been nice. That was my original fear when the event occurred. That like we have all this money reserving tables all over the place, and how many conventions are gonna fold up and run away with people's money, right?
A few, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, it hasn't happened to us. Everybody's been really good about just rolling table
Yeah.
things forward. We should have Brian and Jillian on the podcast. I think Ron and Indy too. There's some great horror stories about shows in Ontario run by like a con man who Comic-Con run by a con man.
You didn't even mean to do that.
No.
You're just like, oh yeah, kind of.
Who basically like set up a convention, half filled it up with people, promised guests that were apparently never even contacted, and then just disappeared with all the money. Like just vanished.
Right. Don't do this if you're listening. This is wrong.
Literal con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to make a shout out to the one show, no offense, FanQuest, that my kids are the most sad didn't happen in this lockdown, and it's the local Enercon.
Oh yeah.
Is my kid's favorite event because it's a small show. It's all Transformers themed and like Transformer enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Emphasis on
I
enthusiasts.
think Robert is the name of the organizer, I believe. I can't remember. We should
But
know.
shout out to Enercon.
Yeah.
And it's usually every 2 years. Like, it's a small show, so they don't go back to the well too often, you know. But, you know, we would have had one if not. So,
Yeah, they do a lot of good work with it. They have the voice actors that play a lot of the roles in Transformers things. I've never been, actually. I should go. I will definitely go to the next one. I'm a fan of Transformers. My kids are not, but I will go anyway.
yeah.
I like the Transformers. So.
Yeah. So overall, what would you say was your experience? If you were going to rate it emotionally, let's do emotional first. What's your emotional rating for returning to a show and then returning home?
So I think like the fan interaction was very fulfilling. Like being able to sell to people again, being able to show off the new books. Like that was a very fulfilling experience and something I missed. One thing I noticed was my social endurance. Holy crap, after a day and a half, I was more mentally exhausted than like at the end of 5 days of San Diego,
you texted
right?
me from the show. Justin sends me this message that says, like, it's only the end of the first day, and it feels like the last day of New York Comic Con. Like, this, you know, social fatigue is totally real, right? What is going on?
You're right. Just the social part of my brain is atrophied. I only talk to a handful of people for a small amount, you know, like, and now I'm interacting with hundreds of people back to back to back, and it was like, yeah, way more exhausting than it had been in the past. So that social endurance was definitely not there. And yeah, I think the only disappointing part was I'm used to, even the vendors didn't have anything new. All they seemed to have done was roll out whatever they had left over from pre-COVID and put it up again.
Did they look happy? Did
No,
they look
like
sad?
like it was.
It was like, it's the best I can do, or was it like,
The vendors room felt like a garage sale, not like
oh no.
nothing exciting. And some artists, like the artists as well, it was not the fired up competitive like inspiration that I was kind of hoping for, but I understand the whys. But usually Calgary gets me like the most fired up seeing.
Can I ask you a dystopian question?
Yeah.
So for you can see previous episodes, but we've talked a lot about what if shows don't continue. We've been sort of making sort of preparations in the background to say, like, you know, there's an ebb and flow of how consumers work, and sometimes things fall out of favor. And so we'd been putting some things in motion in case there were no more conventions to go to. And then, of course, the lockdown happened, and so a bunch of stuff that we had put in place then worked out for us in some regards. So we didn't know we were planning for that specifically. Do you think there's a chance that there just won't be more shows?
No, they'll come
We
back.
might be 3-5 years from real shows.
It might take a while, but
Yeah.
they'll come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll take longer than we thought. Certainly longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought everything was going to be back this year and be back to normal, but clearly this is going to be longer than we thought. And yeah, a couple of years I feel it will be until. But I do think they will come back. People love them too much.
Yeah, we do love
It's
them.
such a great experience gathering people, getting together, exploring, and celebrating the fandoms. It's awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
it is awesome.
And I do miss them very much.
Yeah.
There were some great conversations with a couple artists, and I kind of I feel similar. Is we figured out how to do well without conventions, and so now being able to do a convention like that is just the icing on the cake. But we are still making our art and doing our things, and have found venues to make an income that didn't revolve around the Comic-Con. So I feel so lucky that I'm sustainable without the trade shows. So if there is trade shows, now having both those barrels firing, goodness,
Could be amazing,
super
yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
And I'll also say that you've said many times that your training as a graphic designer and your ability to think in like small business terms rather than just like fine art terms is one of those things that made those moves. But you also were surrounded by people at shows who, you know, like Jed's stuff, where he just, you know, thinks of it in a small business framework, right? These become your peers, and then we start to think, how do you take an existing thing that already works and give it to people, right? As opposed to what a fine artist might do, which is pour their heart and soul into a piece and then hope it goes up in a gallery and then wait 5 years and then someone finally purchases it, and then, you know, you can't make a living doing that. I mean, some people do, but it's very hard to have any predictable income. So, you know, all these things are paying off, right? You didn't know that you were preparing for the apocalypse, but it turned out that... Yeah, it turned out that you would. Well, this has been Super Pulp Science, where we got to talk to Justin about a return to shows in the middle of no shows. What a great showing.
Mixed bag. Mixed bag.
This is Gregory Kamichuk encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.